So this week on the Face Yoga Expert podcast, we are talking about perimenopause. I am talking to Wizz. She is co-founder of Valerie, which is an amazing supplement which helps women through perimenopause. We talk about the signs, the symptoms, and the supplements you can use to help navigate those 5, 10, or 15 years before your periods stop and you're therefore a menopausal. So it's actually a recording of an Instagram live. So that's why the quality of the video and the audio may not be the same as usual podcast episodes. But I just wanted to put it in here because I knew that it would be so helpful for so many of you. And if you would like a discount on the Valerie supplement, so the daily essential and the nighttime essential, they're both fantastic. I take both of them, one in the morning, one in the evening. Just use the code Danielle Collins, all one word in capital letters, and you get a huge 30% off, which is fantastic. Such a good discount, and I can highly recommend it. So let's get into this week's episode with the lovely Wizz.
Hello, Wiz.
Hey!
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. I was just telling everyone we are going to dive into everything perimenopause today. We'll look out for any questions people have got, and I'm excited also to chat about your brand new supplement.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Very exciting. Maybe we'll go straight in with that.
Yeah.
I'll show everyone what it is, and I've been taking it for about 3 or 4 weeks now, and it's fantastic. I've actually replaced my usual nightly magnesium with this because it just supercharges it. So maybe you could tell everyone what it is, how it can help us sleep, and how it can help us with perimenopause.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's 10 supplements in one. So lots of people take magnesium before bed, and it does have magnesium in, but it's got another 9 other powerhouse ingredients in as well, which is fantastic. And it's a liposomal formulation, which means it's much more bioavailable than pills and powders. Quite often with pills and powders, your body will only absorb about 10% of them. Whereas with this liposomal technology, all the nutrients are encapsulated in billions of little liposomes. That means that the nutrients can travel safely through your digestive system and get straight into your bloodstream where they can get to work. So yeah, it's got, like I said, 10 powerhouse ingredients. So it's really to be taken a few hours before bed. So you really get the benefits of kind of like calming and winding down into the evening. And then also after taking it for a prolonged period of time, people start to report deeper sleep as well. And also lots of other benefits as well. So it's good for kind of mood regulation. It helps with cognitive function. So kind of brain fog the next day, those sorts of things as well. Really great for immunity, and also kind of muscle and joint care as well. So I think a lot of us start to feel like we're creaking and aching, and things are just a bit more, not as nimble as they used to be. So yeah, it kind of really helps that while you are sleeping, kind of that restorative level to your body as well.
And how can our sleep be affected in perimenopause? And I know you talked about how this can help us, but many people actually don't realise that our sleep can change, particularly as we get into our 40s.
Yeah, and actually, I think it's one of the quite early signs of perimenopause, and I think that this is one of the big conversations and kind of what we're trying to educate a lot about at Valerie is kind of how early perimenopause can start. So for me, I was kind of like 37, 38 when I look back, but most women are saying it's like 3 to 5 years before they put the pieces of the puzzle together. And actually, sleep disturbances can be something that is quite common. And what's happening is people are waking up at 3 a.m., their thoughts are racing, and they're kind of thinking, have I left the oven on? Or what did I say to that person 15 years ago that I now regret? Like all of these mad things like just popping into our heads that are completely useless at 3 a.m., but then can't get back to sleep. So if we're not sleeping well, then that affects our whole everything the next day. It affects how the energy to exercise, to work, to motivation, all of those other things that can have such a big impact on women's lives. So yeah, as our hormones are changing, it's affecting so many different elements of our body, and that's the big thing in perimenopause. It's the fluctuation. It's not just the decline of hormones; it's the fluctuation of them that are a bit like a roller coaster. So
Absolutely. And it doesn't follow a sort of linear pattern, really. I think, particularly if we are quite in tune with our cycle, for many years, we can see a very sort of almost like rigid cycle. We know the week before our period, maybe we're going to feel a little bit more grumpy or anxious, then maybe a little bit tired when our period comes. And then usually we have those couple of weeks where we're feeling fantastic and full of energy. But actually, perimenopause can throw all of that out, which often leaves us feeling quite confused because it's like that control is gone. It's not even like we can track it in our diaries any longer.
Yeah, absolutely. And from one day to the next, things can be completely erratic. So it's a very confusing and emotional time for women because it's, yeah, even if you think you finally cracked your cycle,
Yeah.
then it all goes out the window again, which is yeah, frustrating.
And what do you think the main, let's say, 2 to 3 symptoms of perimenopause that you've noticed of your customers are?
Big ones are energy, is a massive one, and yeah, that increase in, I suppose, anxiety and not being able to handle stress as well as they had before. Yeah, like just worrying about things they hadn't worried about before, like driving at night, or they were like, people are like, well, I used to be able to, it's fine. Why am I suddenly stressed about this? And it's both of those are kind of impacting their lives. They don't quite feel like themselves, but they can't quite pinpoint something that's wrong. They just, oh, I'm just more stressed or I'm just more tired, and putting it down to everyday life because life's busy, and usually people are at a very busy stage of their lives when they're going through perimenopause. So often dismiss it as well. But yeah, it's definitely worth taking note of because you can do things about it, which is kind of why we've created the yeah, products at Valerie, the daily essential in the morning, which is great for energy and calming. And then the evening one, again, which has both got ashwagandha in, which is really great for stress and anxiety.
Yeah, ashwagandha is fantastic.
Mm.
And I think that is an important message. There are things you can do, and definitely these 2 products are going to help. But if people have any worries, then it's also really important to go to a trusted doctor
Yeah.
or experts in hormones, because actually I think that so many women are suffering in silence. And we're lucky because we are in an information age now. So it's being talked about more than it ever was before, definitely more than it was 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. However, many women are struggling alone, they're struggling in silence. And even if they are going to a doctor that perhaps doesn't understand perimenopause and the huge length of perimenopause that can be 10 to 15 years, then often they are misdiagnosed and given maybe antidepressants or given the contraceptive pill or something which might not be right for them in that moment. So what's your sort of message to your customers, as well as taking this one in the morning and this one in the evening? What's your message in terms of where they can get trusted help?
Yeah, and I think it's really important if you are going to see your doctor, to book an appointment with someone who specialises in female health, because all doctors will have a specialism, and yeah, some of them could be, yeah, I don't know, back pain but yeah, female health is really, really important because that person will have a better understanding of what you're going through as well. So yeah, make sure you call the receptionist first, and that could be a doctor or it could be a practice nurse as well. There's lots of people, yeah, that can help. And then really kind of tracking your symptoms and how you're feeling is really important because there isn't that everyone kind of wants this blood test to tell them if they're in peri, but there's a blood test that tells you once you've gone through menopause, but not the bit before when you go to your GP. So yeah, it's really about tracking your symptoms is really important. And yeah, I mean, looking at the NHS website, there's obviously lots of information there. But yeah, there's lots of information out there, which in lots of ways can be great, but in other ways it can be completely overwhelming as well. And again, I think the key thing is lots of people are talking about menopause, but people aren't connecting the dots. So we saw us a report the other day, and it's only, I think, 29% of women actually realise that they're in perimenopause.
Wow.
So yeah, I think people are hearing about it. They're like, this is great, everyone's talking about menopause, but they're not realising it's them. And because symptoms are different for every woman, they can be different to their friends or their internalizing it and then not talking to each other about it. And it's a big emotional stage of life as well. I think people think, well, oh, it's the end of my fertility, my womanhood, women become invisible. There's all of this kind of stuff that we've kind of taken on as well. So it can be quite emotional. Some people still want to have kids. But yeah, perimenopause, you're still having a cycle. So yeah, it's just a period of time.
It is just a period of time. And I think one of the most important things that you taught me, because we've had a few chats before on the podcast and on live, is that menopause is actually only one day of our life. And it's the perimenopause that can be 5, 10 or 15 years leading up to those 12 months where we have no bleed. And then we have one day after we've had 12 months of no bleed where we're in menopause. And then after that, we're postmenopausal. And that's so interesting to me, but I think it's also so important for women to understand, because menopause, yes, is talked about, but the perimenopause is really what you're going to be in for the biggest majority of your time. So that's really intriguing. And another thing which I've really found recently, and I'd be interested to know your opinions on this as well, is the flip side of the positive aspects of perimenopause. And I think we can have that that societal concept that women are invisible, women are struggling. But actually what I've noticed at 43, I'll be 44 early next year, is that it's made me know who I am much more, know what I want much more, be able to say no to things that don't serve me, to take less of other people's BS, let's say, to want to show up to what I do in a very different way. And I found it quite empowering. Yes, I'm starting to see early signs of perimenopause, so things like headaches when I bleed, more intense symptoms of PMS, very slightly shorter cycle than I had before. It's not hugely shorter, but it's definitely shorter. I take these 2 supplements, so I know that I'm being supported throughout that. But I'm also enjoying other aspects of it that's just making me really clear on who I am. I know we're the same age. Have you had a similar experience?
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes. It's just yeah, I think that all of this stuff comes at you, and you've kind of you have to put yourself first. And I think as women, we're often caregivers and we're giving to everyone, whether that's kids, it's family, it's work colleagues, it's friends. We're very much givers, but at the detriment of looking after ourselves. And sometimes it's easier to help others than help ourselves, because you have to do the inner work as well, which can feel a bit scary. But yeah, having to put your life jacket on first is just so important before you can actually help others. And if you are kind of suffering with symptoms, very often, you're having to put yourself first, reassess your life, put boundaries in place, have those difficult conversations, and just the things that you were doing before, just your hormones were probably protecting you a bit from that stress and anxiety, and you could just handle it and ride through it. And now they're not there as much, and or they're wildly all over the place, which is kind of causing other kind of, I suppose, moods and feelings. So yeah, you have to change things up, which is great.
You do, and I think it is great, and it does make you just reassess everything. What would you say in terms of taking these supplements? I know this is going to be a big question that people are asked. What would you say for someone that wants to or is taking HRT? Can they still safely take both of these supplements?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have lots of our customers that take HRT and the supplements as well. And yeah, we get some phenomenal feedback of them taking both together, because it can be a bit of a total game changer for them. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. And then there's lots of people that just want to go down the natural route as well, and kind of not go on HRT. So yeah, they come out and seek us as well.
That's wonderful. And let's talk a little bit about the Daily Essential, because we mentioned your new evening one.
Yeah.
But the Daily Essential, tell us a little bit about the ingredients in that and how that's going to help us, and also when we should start taking that, because I know that there's many women in their late 30s and early 40s that are not sure if they're in perimenopause or not. So maybe you can sort of advise when we should be taking it and why we should be taking it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're in your late 30s, I'd just start now.
Okay.
Lots about perimenopause prep as well. It's great for mood regulation around and PMT as well. So yeah, if you do struggle with your cycle, we've had some amazing reviews of women that they've said after 3 months they're like, oh, my period arrived, and they were like
Wow.
surprised because normally they'd have like 5 days of absolute rage, and then they've been taking daily essential for 3 months, and it just kind of arrived, and they were like, "Oh wow, that was
Great.
yeah, it was amazing when I hear stories like that." So yeah, it's great for kind of mood regulation around that. Yeah, it's really good for calming as well. So stress and anxiety with that ashwagandha in it, it's really good, and it's really great for energy. So I think we all just revert to coffee, and caffeine, and sugar, or all sorts of things that can, yeah, either aren't great for us or can make us quite jittery as well for people like having lots of coffee. Whereas the daily essential is really good for like natural energy. So it's got kind of B6, B12, vitamin D, iron, K2 in, and that's a really nice kind of natural energy boost that kind of will take you through the day as well. So that's great to get that in the morning and get the benefits of that. Yeah, I used to not be able to get through the day without a nap, but now, yeah, now I can.
That's
So
wonderful. And it's really good that you've done that combination in there, because what many people don't know is when you take vitamin D, you actually need the K2 to absorb it. And when you take iron, you need the vitamin C to absorb it. So actually having that combination there is such magic. And actually for me, I find that ashwagandha is fantastic. And the fact that both of these contain ashwagandha, I know I'm getting it in the morning, which is going to help to keep me calm through the day. Then I'm getting in the evening, which is helping me sleep as well. So tell us a bit more about ashwagandha and how that can help us.
yeah, so ashwagandha is an adaptogen, which means it helps the body adapt to stress. So yeah, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant adaptogen, because it's, yeah, very calming. But on its own, it can be a bit sometimes it can be a bit soporific as well. So actually, then having it as a blend works really well. And yeah, we've heard again some amazing stories from customers that have said how much it's helped reduce their anxiety. I had someone yesterday who has been on our evening trial said that she's reduced her anti-anxiety medication. She's now
Wow.
taking half, and I was like,
Wow, that's
wow,
amazing.
that's pretty incredible. And another story about a woman that said she just hadn't. She went out to a party for the first time in 2 years and had fun because she'd had such social anxiety that she just felt awful every time that she went out. And she said since taking Valerie, yeah, she had fun. I was like, that's amazing.
Oh, the stories like that, Wiz,
Yeah.
must really make it all worthwhile for you, because I know one of the big reasons that you started this business with your co-founder is because you were struggling yourself with
Mm,
perimenopause symptoms. And I know your co-founder witnessed his mum also struggling in her 40s, and that was one
yeah.
of his big driving forces to starting this. So how have you sort of found that your own journey's going now? I guess not only with the supplement, but just also with the information and the support that you're now getting, just as a human being, as a woman,
Mm,
and as a founder.
yeah. I mean, it's been a fascinating journey because, yeah, I thought I had burnout or long COVID, and then I was like, oh, the more I learned about perimenopause, I was like, hang on, everything's the same as perimenopause. This is, yeah. And I was like, this isn't a coincidence that most women burn out in their 40s. And I was like, okay, yes, and your progesterone starts to drop, and then you can't handle stress and anxiety as well. So I was like, oh wow. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I was doing a talk earlier actually, and someone said, the more I learn, it feels like the less I know.
Wow,
Because I
yeah,
was like, yeah, you just keep
yeah.
finding out more and more and more stuff, and about how our hormones affect absolutely everything in our lives and how our bodies function and our brains. Like we think of it kind of as, I suppose, yeah, this lower half of the body of your trunk, but actually it's all of these hormones are kind of, yeah, sparking things in our brains, and that's how everything's kind of connected, and then how that connects to cortisol and dopamine and serotonin and melatonin, and we're a very, very complex, amazing bodies, and they all of these hormones have an impact on each other. But yeah, we only kind of top line start talking about estrogen and progesterone, but then of course women also have testosterone, and then also there's all of those other ones, hormones I mentioned as well. So yeah, they're very
And I
finely
think,
tuned.
yeah, and we absolutely are. And I know for me that being in perimenopause definitely affects my stress response. But interesting for me, when I'm stressed, it really affects my hormones. So it's like a two-way thing. When I say my hormones, I mean my estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, the balance of all of that, particularly my moods, my PMS. So for me personally, anything I can do to reduce my stress really helps me to balance symptoms. And the other thing I've really found, and I guess I'm just sharing this because it might be helpful for other women that are going through the same thing, is that I have to do things that perhaps I didn't have to do in my 20s and 30s. So it's like I have to be a little bit stricter and more rigid with my lifestyle. So I haven't got that wiggle room to not do exercise in the way that I used to, and I haven't got the wiggle room to eat unhealthy in the way that I used to. Not that I ever was, well, there was a point that I was, but the last 20 years when I've been doing the career that I've been doing, and since I overcame an illness in my early 20s, I've definitely lived a healthy lifestyle. But now what I'm finding in my 40s is I actually have to say to myself, Danielle, you need to go to bed at 9:30 in the evening. You need to make sure you're going to the gym and upping your strength training, because else I get the muscle loss that I never used to. I can get away with a little bit of sugar, but not much. I don't drink alcohol or caffeine. And in some ways, and again, I'm just sharing this because I'm sure that this resonates with a lot of people, in some ways that can feel frustrating because you think, oh my goodness, so I have to work hard on everything and be really strict with everything. But on the flip side of things, I almost like that perimenopause helps to keep me in a really healthy, holistic lifestyle, because it's like that constant daily reminder that if you don't look after yourself, you're going to almost get symptoms way quicker than you ever did before. So it sort of drives you along to, I guess, living the right path. Do you find a similar thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And we all fall off the wagon once in a while, don't we?
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, but it kind of really hits you in the face
Yeah.
when you do it in
Yeah.
perimenopause. And like, okay, yeah, I really shouldn't have had that extra glass of wine, or I really, shouldn't, didn't have enough vegetables yesterday. Or for me, the food thing is quite is a big thing. Particularly with sleep, actually, if I haven't eaten enough in the day, or had enough protein, it can really affect my sleep, my moods. I've always kind of got a bit hangry, but that blood sugar levels, that's also quite key as well with your hormones. And I really notice it if I just think, oh I don't want to try and lose a bit of weight, and then don't eat enough. But then I just like, I have to, otherwise then I just can't sleep. Then I end up getting up in the middle of the night and having a bit of toast, and then that's the worst thing you can do.
Absolutely. And am I right in thinking that on the daily essential, you've got the chromium in there, which is going to help to balance the blood sugar levels
Yeah,
as well? Yeah,
so
that's
that's
really
really good.
helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. And how about for women that are post-menopausal? So they've had the 12 months without bleeding, they've had that one day, which is menopause, which, by the way, I'm going to be tracking that so carefully because I'm going to have the biggest party that day.
Yes.
Now I know it's one day. How about women that are now post-menopausal? Would you recommend them taking these supplements? And if so, for how long? Because I imagine you wouldn't want them taking it necessarily for decades, but there would be a certain amount of time which should be helpful for them to take them.
Yeah, we have lots of women actually that we designed it specifically for perimenopause symptoms, but actually, and this is also a fact I really wish I didn't know. Actually, some symptoms carry on post menopause, which is really frustrating. So, if there are any, I suppose, of the benefits on the products that you feel like you would benefit from. So if you still like need more energy, which I think most people have have that need for in daily, if you want something that's quite calming, if you want helps with moods, I think it's a really powerful thing to take. And again, the same with sleep. Actually, the evening one, I think once you're obviously post-menopause, there's less erraticness with your hormones, but actually the decline continues of those. So that kind of interrupted sleep is quite a big thing for women. So I definitely recommend the evening for them.
Wonderful. So I guess a few years afterwards is
Yeah.
definitely helpful. That's great. Yeah. I think it's so important to just continue this conversation, because I know up until maybe 4 years ago, I hadn't even really heard the word perimenopause. And that's
Mm.
me working in the wellness industry. So if anyone wants sort of, I guess, a medical confirmation that they're
Mm.
in perimenopause, what's your recommendation? Do you think that they should have a clinical diagnosis? So go and have a chat with the doctor, and then if the doctor thinks they're in perimenopause, then that's sort of the best way to do it. Do you think they should do something like the Dutch test, where you're, doing a urine sample every day over a month? Do you think it should be a blood test through your GP or through another avenue? What's usually your recommendation of that?
Yeah, so it's honestly, it's usually self-diagnosis.
Mhm.
I mean, a blood test is only going to be one point in time when that needle goes in,
Yeah.
and we have we already know we have a 4-week cycle, so everything's changing, and within the roller coaster of the hormones in perimenopause, it could be different one day to the next, 1 hour to the next. You can do touch tests. I mean, they're quite expensive and quite a pain in the ass to do, because you have to pee on a bit of paper every day. But the best way, honestly, is tracking your symptoms. So on our website, we have kind of a symptom guide, or you can go onto the NHS website and they'll have a list of all the symptoms. And going through that and kind of just little tick box, okay, well, how many of those have you had? And just working it out, which I've done myself personally. And I know the last 5 years, I've had 19 of kind of all those kind of like 50 different symptoms. So I was like, well, yeah, it's definitely perimenopause. I've had 19 of them.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, it's and yes, of course, it's useful to go and talk to your doctor about it. But again, you have to do quite a lot of advocating, self-advocating, if you're under 45 with your doctor. And I've had a number of, over the years, appointments where hormones wasn't even talked about, and I came away seriously frustrated, having a number of tests, being told everything was fine, which I suppose is great. There was nothing serious wrong with me, but it was completely debilitating in my life and my work and my social life. So yeah, it was then only once I knew more about perimenopause, I could start self-advocating, and they were like, well, yeah, it does sound like perimenopause.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned about 19 out of the, oh, bless you. You mentioned 90 out, did you say the 50
Yeah.
symptoms? What's the sort of baseline usually, that number that you have to sort of go over to start to think, yeah, I'm probably in perimenopause? Is it sort of 5, 10, or do you need to be sort of over 15?
I don't know. I think it depends what they are as well.
Mhm.
So I think there are some that could be lifestyle or stress or
Okay.
other things. So I suppose like that, yeah, kind of like energy and anxiety and things like that. But then I think some that are quite specific to perimenopause. So quite a common one is, like you mentioned, is your cycle maybe just getting 1 day or 2 days shorter. Yeah, I think worse PMS is another one. Um, Lots of women, we think of like hot flashes, but actually a lot of women get night sweats. But
Mhm.
I think that usually happens earlier in perimenopause. The hot flashes is usually as you're kind of getting towards menopause. But yeah, I hear about night sweats quite a lot from women. Yeah, kind of bloating is another one that's quite common. And like stubborn belly fat that, yeah, used to, yeah, just can't lose weight in the same way that you used to. And yeah, what was the other one? Brain fog.
Yeah,
Fog
brain
enough.
fog. Case in point.
That's yeah, quite a key one.
Yeah.
So once you start like adding them up, yeah, I'd probably say probably 5 or 8. Yeah, there isn't
Okay.
a particular set
Mhm.
number, but it's yeah, it's
Yeah, so at
useful to
least sort of
track.
5 to 8 of them. Yeah, so they
Yeah,
can go to the Valerie website if anyone wants to look
yeah,
at those symptoms.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
great.
So in our blog
Wonderful.
section.
Great, in the blog section, wonderful.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants the 30% off the Valerie Daily Essential or the Evening Essential, they just need to use the code Danielle Collins, all capital letters, all one word. I'll also put it in the link as well, and they can get 30% off, which by the way is an amazing discount and a much bigger discount than most brands give. So
Yeah.
thank you for that, Wiz.
No, pleasure. And that's on top of the subscription. So if you subscribe, you get 25% off, and then you'll get 30% on top of that. So
Wow.
yeah.
That is fantastic. And it also saves you money generally. What I've found is rather than just having so many different pills to take for my supplements, now it's way easier because I just take this and I do a probiotic and a fish oil in the morning. And then I'm just doing this and I also do a collagen in the evening. And it's much better than sort of taking 10 different supplements in the morning and 5 in the evening. It just feels much simpler, and I think anything we can do to simplify our life is really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was rattling around before when I used to take so a whole cupboard full of pills. It's mad, and I hear the same from lots of women, which is why we made them all in one.
Brilliant. Wiz, thank you so much. So everyone can just go to Valerie either on Instagram, I think you're weare.valerie on Instagram. We'll also share this on weare.valerie, and they can also just go to your website as well, which is, if you let us know what that is.
Yeah, that's wearevalerie.com.
That's We Are Valerie as well. Wiz, thank you so much for everything you do for us, for all that you talk about with perimenopause. It's such an important topic to talk about, and I'm so thrilled to be part of it.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.